I'm sure we've lost a few stragglers somewhere. Anyway, some of the plants that I grow on the ground layer are evergreen members of the blackberry and raspberry family, and there's two different ones here either side of me. This is the one that was by the gate, Korean raspberry, Rubus tricolor. So that it doesn't have thorns, it just has hairs on the stems. And this is Nepalese raspberry, Rubus nepalensis to my left. And these are fantastic ground covering plants, evergreen, flowering now as you can see, and produce raspberry-like fruits in sort of mid-July right through August. I wouldn't put this one in a small garden because it's probably too vigorous. You know, it does need some management to keep it from going where you don't want it, because these are tip layering plants, so they'll produce arching growths, and where they hit the ground they'll usually root. So obviously you have to, with plants like this, you need to define a boundary for it, you know, to make them patrol that a couple of times a year, just to make sure it's not going where you don't want it. It's not a lot of work, it just needs to be in your consciousness to do that. This one is particularly good in fruiting in shade. You know, Rubus tricolor seems better really than the other one, but the Rubus nepalensis is a lower plant, as you can see, and doesn't spread quite so with quite so much vigour. But they both love shady conditions, and there's a number of others as well related to these. And I mean, you know, as much as possible I'm trying to keep the soil covered with plant growth all year. You can't do that everywhere, of course, because some of the things I want to grow are not evergreen, in which case, you know, I'm trying to make sure there's enough dead stem matter as well there to self-mulch in a way and keep the soil protected, because plant growth or, you know, or mulch of dead stems really protects the soil well in winter. And that, if the soil is protected, you'll get better soil structure, you'll lose less nutrients, you know, lots and lots of advantages, and everything else will benefit, everything in the soil will benefit. So, you know, they're doing a really good job in terms of soil protection as well. Looking behind me, you can see there's quite a lot of red currants actually under here. Red currants are absolutely fine in deciduous shade. They're probably our most shade tolerant of the common, you know, bush fruits, because they're very early into growth, and they've done most of their growing by the time the trees above them have got into leaf. So, you know, they're absolutely fine. Gooseberries are pretty shade tolerant too. Blackcurrants not quite so. You know, blackcurrants need a little bit more sun. And this is my other main mulberry tree, is this one above you here, and that's an American variety called Illinois Everbearing. Now, fruiting varieties of mulberries start fruiting within a year or two of you planting them out, very fast, whereas a seedling mulberry tree might take 15 years, so there's a big difference. So if you're thinking of planting a mulberry, try and get, you know, a named fruiting variety, otherwise you'll be waiting an awful long time. Those of you who don't know mulberries, the fruits grow like longish blackberries in a way, in terms of shape and size. And you know, we're slightly spoilt in a way by being used to picking things like apples and pears off trees. You know, those are big fruits, and you can take one pick and you get a decent amount in one handful. And of course those have been selected and bred for thousands of years to get to what they are now. Whereas a lot of the unusual fruits that I grow, things like mulberries or hawthorns for example, the fruits are much smaller. And you might instantly think that's a disadvantage, but actually it's not necessarily. So, you know, the fruits of this, I'm not going to shimmy up this tree and try and pick individual fruits, you know, I haven't got time for that. I will actually put a tarpaulin down and shake the branches, all the right fruits come down all at once. And similar with things like hawthorns, it doesn't take very long. Of course there's a few leaves to filter out, you know, that come down as well, and the odd spider, and the odd snail actually out of a mulberry tree, because they like grazing on the odd leaf up there. You know, it doesn't take long. Harvesting does not take long, just because they're small fruits. And the advantage of a lot of these unusual fruit trees is because they haven't been highly bred to produce big fruits and to crop as massively as something like an apple tree, they don't get stressed. The reason why apple diseases are such a problem is because apple trees get stressed every year by overproducing, because they've been selected to do that, and that stresses them, and as soon as a tree is stressed, it's very susceptible to all diseases going. So trees like mulberries or hawthorns or some of the other unusual fruits I've got, they don't get stressed, so they don't get diseases. There aren't any diseases, there aren't any pests that are a problem at all. So from that aspect, they are much lower maintenance than things like apple trees or pears or plums, for that